Today we're going to learn how to get rid of a mouse problem using a mouse trap. This is a Victor mouse trap, and these are really good traps for getting rid of mice. I found them to be very effective. So they come like this with this little thing here, this little staple. You just remove it by pulling up this lever like that. And now the trap is almost ready for use. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a peanut. Peanuts are some of the best mouse bait. I'm just going to use half a peanut like this. I'm going to put it in here up front. Then I'm going to use my thumb and I'm going to jam it underneath this little part here. This is the trigger, so it's going to get wedged underneath that little part. And that makes it really hard for the mice to get it out without triggering the trap. So I just sort of squeeze it in. It sort of breaks up, but it doesn't really matter. Just squeeze some in, like that. That's enough. And then just dust the rest of it off. If you can get some more in, that's even better. You can also use peanut butter, but I like this technique. You can see this trap now has some peanut in it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to attach some string to this little eyelet here, and we're going to put it on this side here. Not this side, but on this side. And we're going to put the little string through like that, and we're going to do 2 half hitches like this. 1 and 2. Or some other sort of knot. It doesn't really matter. You can do 3 too if you want. And the reason that I'm doing this is for a couple of reasons. The first one is these traps usually kill the mouse. Maybe 9 times out of 10 the mouse is dead. But sometimes the mouse isn't dead. And then it'll drag the trap away. And then if you have it tied off on something, then it can't go further. So then you can just pick up the string, take it outside, and finish it off. So that's why you have the string. It's sort of a tether, and then if the mouse is dead, then you can just lift this up, don't even have to touch it, and you can drop it in the garbage. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to take this mouse trap and set it really easily. It's actually pretty easy to do. A lot of people get scared of mouse traps because they think they'll snap their finger. This might be true, but even if it does, it's usually not that painful. Rat traps are different, but this is not that strong. But you'd rather not find out, rather not get your finger snapped. So what I'm doing now is I'm bringing this thing back. This is called the kill bar. This goes back like this, and it's brought back, and you can see this little eyelet here. It has to be free to move around. And now I'm going to take the trap and I'm going to tilt it upwards very slightly like this. And then I'm going to stick this little trigger, this little bar here, or whatever, the trigger release, on the trigger. There's a little knob here, and this thing goes right underneath like that. And the idea is that it sort of catches. When you lift up like this, it won't release, but if you go to the side slightly, it will release, and if this gets pressed down, it gets released. So like that, lift up, and you can feel it holds steady, or it holds strong, and then you slowly, with this thumb here, you slowly lift up until you get tension. Like that, right? Slowly, very, very slowly. And then once I have tension, once I feel that this trigger is stopping the kill bar from snapping, right? It's caught on the trigger here. Then I take this finger out of the way, and then I hold down here, and then I slowly pull back like this. And then even if it snaps, it won't get my thumb, because my thumb is just here. And now it's set. So, and it's much easier to do this trigger when the trap is slightly pointed upwards like that a little bit. It's a lot easier to engage it. And once you've engaged the trigger, like that, you're set. Then you stick it down like this, and then the mouse will come and it will get snapped. So this is how it gets set. See, you can see it, the little stick catches on this little nib here on the trigger, and I'm pulling up, and it won't let go. That means it's fully engaged, right? And then once the mouse hits it from the side, or once the mouse touches this trigger, it'll snap and the mouse will be dead. So this is what happens when the mouse comes along. The mouse comes along, pretend this stick is a mouse. There's the trigger, the mouse eats it, snap, it's dead. So sometimes this mouse trap is, the mice are really fast, the little ones are real fast, and they can get out of the way before the trap hits them. They must have incredible reflexes, so you have to make the trigger slightly less sensitive. So you bend it back like this a little bit, and then it's much more sensitive. Then the mouse just about breathes on it and it gets snapped. But it's harder to set too. So see on an angle, it's catching. Oh, yeah, there it goes. See, it's hard to set them like that. But and then if you have it too sensitive, then you can bend it back again. See, that one's too sensitive now. Now bend it back a tiny bit. I'm gonna get it just to the point where it's good. There we go. And then again, it's super sensitive now. And there comes the mouse. Gone. So sometimes the mouse comes and then the mouse gets, this white thing will pretend it's the mouse. It gets smacked, and sometimes the mouse is still kicking around. And you, even after a while, then you take it outside somewhere and you lay it down. Then the mouse is not dead yet. Then you take a shovel, you smack it a couple times, and then it's dead. And then the mouse can be disposed of, and its misery has ended, and it's good. So when you set the mouse trap, mice like to run along walls. This is their favorite spot. They're always scared of being in the open, usually, so they like to run along a wall. So you stick the trap against a wall like this, then the mouse is likely to find the bait and get snapped. It comes running along like this, gone. Okay, and this is a do-it-yourself pest control solution. It's a really cheap way of doing it, and it's relatively humane, and it gets the job done, and the mice are dead. So mouse traps are pretty cheap. They're about $1 each, and they can be reused too if you want. You can sometimes just take a match and burn them off, or don't even bother. And then that gets rid of the smell of the humans on it. Most mice don't even care about the smell of humans, but if they're really finicky, you can do that. Do it outside where you won't light anything on fire. And these traps are a really cheap way of getting rid of a mouse problem. You just keep setting the traps and snapping the mice, and eventually, through predation, which means you keep on killing mice, and this stops them from making babies, and it stops them from reproducing. They reproduce really, really fast, and this just, if you always keep a couple traps set in your house, it'll really cut down on the number of mice quickly. And there might be one or two, but there'll never be very many, because eventually they'll find the trap and they'll get snapped, and that's good.